Mealtime is a cherished moment for families, and at Nurtured, they believe it should be both enjoyable and easy. Explore their mealtime collection featuring a variety of organic, safe, and stylish products to make feeding your little ones a breeze. From vibrant plates to beautiful designs, utensils, and on-the-go essentials, all designed for those tiny hands to have healthy snacks and fuel their bodies as they grow. Nurtured has everything you need to create a delightful dining experience at home, including some fabulous and stylish high chairs because let's face it, some of them are really not great. Head on over to nurtured.ca today and explore their incredible range of organic products and discover how you can nurture your family's health and happiness right from your computer. Or you can visit their store on Agricola Street in the north end of Halifax. With Nurtured, you're not just shopping, you're investing in a brighter, healthier future with your loved ones. Ashley Turner, welcome to the Mom Existence.
Thanks for having me.
I'm so excited that you're here.
Me too.
And I really appreciate you coming in because I know you had to drive in, plus life on the farm. I feel like there's a lot to probably leave and come in and do this, so I really appreciate it. I've known you mostly through your husband, Daniel Turner, who his family and my family have known each other for, honestly, I think like over 20 years.
Yeah.
A long time. And there's a lot of Turners. I know all of them, but there's a lot of them. They're a big family. I just want to say how incredible and interesting and cool it's been to watch you and Daniel kind of change your lives, change your careers, your lifestyles, basically right in front of our eyes. I checked today. I knew that you had a big following on Instagram, but it's 240,000 people that are following you at Turner Farms.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Does that still like shock or surprise you sometimes when you realize that there's that many eyeballs following along on your journey and your family?
Yeah. It's been a bit of a whirlwind too in the last few years. So no, it's been humbling for sure.
Oh my gosh, I can't imagine. I don't know if there's like extra pressure you feel when you post stuff, or do you kind of just do it and it just feels good to you and you like sharing with the community?
I think it depends on the day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you like deleting things sometimes?
Well, yeah. And I think I feel like I share a lot more organically if I can just share my day rather than if I have to talk about the business side of things. I find that harder online with so many eyes.
Yeah. And it is nice. I feel like some of us, obviously, there's different things and different reasons we turn to social media, but a lot of us do want to see that kind of, like peek into people's lives or the good times and kind of what and how people are living.
Yeah, people are really voyeuristic, I find.
Yeah.
So I feel like they have such an interest, especially people who don't live that type of lifestyle. Mm-hmm. It's such an interesting thing for them to peek in to see kind of like what does that look like every day, and how do they live their lives. So I think that has been for me kind of the type of people that I've attracted on that page.
Yeah, that's so cool. So I want to go back to you guys wanting to kind of pursue starting a farm. I think I remember or read or saw it was a few chickens that you guys started with on your property. Kind of what sparked that interest to even purchase those chickens and then grow to what we see today at Turner Farm?
Yeah, so when I kind of wanted the homestead life for quite a while before we moved to where we are right now. So when we moved, we bought just the house and a couple of acres, and Daniel was working full time, and it was sort of just me driving that bus as far as wanting animals, and I just wanted to produce more of what we consumed.
Okay.
So we got laying hens for eggs, and we started a garden. And I kind of I originally kind of thought I wanted some goats, and we got some sheep instead. And I just sort of wanted to get my feet wet with what it was like to have livestock because I had not grown up on a farm. I grew up in a neighborhood. Daniel didn't grow up on a farm. We didn't really have any idea what we were doing. And it wasn't something that originally he was overly interested in pursuing because he was quite busy with his own business. So I kind of just collected animals for a little while just to kind of learn what it was like to have livestock on the property. And like I said, we only had 2 acres at the time. So I would go and get sheep. I'd stick them in the back of my Ford Escape.
In your car?
In my car. I would drive them back to the farm.
He must have thought you were crazy.
He did, yeah. And
How long had you guys been married?
oh, well, Daniel and I started dating when I was 20. I don't think we moved to the farm until for like 8 years after that or so. So yeah, so he knew I was
You guys were well established.
pretty rational when it came to those types of things. And he just sort of like kind of put his head down and just let it happen. And he always was supportive, like always helped with the chores, but and he did enjoy the sheep, but it wasn't something that he was really fully invested in. And then he started doing competition barbecue with his brother and his cousin, and they would kind of get a group of them together and they would go down to the States and they would compete in these competitions on the weekend. And at first it was just really for fun, but then they started bringing meat in from out west and realizing, you know, the pork in the southern states, like how different it was than what we were able to get here. And so he was like, well, if we're going to do all of this, we might as well do it in a way that it supports our family and it's something that we can actually consume. And so we started farming pigs, and that was sort of when he kind of popped on and really got a lot more involved in the farm. And we don't have the pigs anymore. We mostly just do our cattle, and we do Wagyu beef, and so that is kind of his thing. So he's really got more involved with it as it became something that was, you know, sustaining our family, something we were actually raising what we were consuming.
That's crazy. And that is what you guys both do full time now, right?
Yeah, so we co-own Turner Farm, and that has an online component as well as the physical farm. And the physical farm now is just the Wagyu beef. Okay. And then we have our homestead with our other animals or whatever, but we don't have pigs, so we just do the beef now, and that's basically Daniel's full time.
Just do the beef.
Just do the beef.
Still sounds like a lot of work. And I'm from the valley as well, and I know how like grueling and complicated and difficult it can be.
Yeah.
And you guys grew from the few chickens to the sheep to the pigs, and now you're building your, I would say, your dream home.
Yeah.
On your property. So you're adding that motherhood.
Yeah.
Work.
Yeah.
And now building a home into the mix. So
yeah. So we actually, the house that we are building, so how it happened was we bought 2 acres, and then the gentleman that owned all the land behind us, he was older and he was looking to kind of start selling some of it off. And so we had an agreement to kind of buy it in chunks. And so we had bought a chunk of it, and that's when we got the pigs. And then when COVID hit, a lot of people from Ontario were coming to Nova Scotia and buying up property. And it seemed to be just happening everywhere. And he came to us one day and he said, like, I think I'm going to try to sell the whole thing in one shot. And he was not well at the time, so I think he was trying to get his ducks in a row, and he actually passed away shortly after we ended up buying the land. So we had agreed to buy all of it, and so we bought the large parcel, and we had been planning to build a different house back on the farm, because the way that it works right now is the cows aren't really all that close to us, and you know that doesn't work if they decide to leave their pasture, get out and run around, and we want to make sure that we have eyes on them. And so we had said, you know, we'll build a house back further, and it wasn't supposed to be where it is. And the gentleman that lives down the road from us, a friend of ours, was farming crops in the fields. And we had never a reason to go up to the very upper field that looks over the Bay of Fundy. We didn't even know that it had a view up there. And he was harvesting one day, and he sent us a picture. He said, if you can swing it, you would be crazy to not build your house up here.
Right.
So that's where we ended up.
Because the view is incredible.
It is.
It's incredible.
Yeah, it's a full view of the bay.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I recently was back in the Annapolis Valley in my hometown, Middleton. And I was reflecting, I knew you were coming on, and I was talking to my husband the other day, and we live in Bedford, so just outside Halifax. And I was thinking about how much I love our son and spending time with our family, just the 3 of us right now. I'm like, it would be actually incredible to be on a property, to be in your, like, I want to call it a log cabin style home, and just do everything as a family. Literally, I feel like you guys are together. You homeschool your kids.
Yeah.
So you guys are together most of the time or all the time, working as a team, essentially. And it was the first time it dawned on me that I thought, I feel like that would be a very enjoyable, lovely life.
Yeah, it definitely, For us, it definitely matches kind of like our values for our family. Obviously running a business and having your kids home full time has pros and cons, but they're really involved in the farm, and it is, yeah, we do everything together. It was funny because my daughter, someone made a comment that they don't get to see their kids that often because they're in school, and then they have this competitive extracurricular lifestyle after, and that on average they might only sit down together for like 6 hours a week. And my daughter was like, oh, I feel like we do 6 hours a day as a family, and like almost disgusted. And I was like, yeah, I think
She's just at that age.
She's at that age where she was like, wow, 6 hours a week. I think we do 6 hours a day as a family. And, it is true. We do a lot of the things every day together. So, and I really like that. Again, there's days where that's really hard. But as a whole, I really enjoy that ability to kind of be together all the time.
So how old were they? How old were they when you guys started?
Homeschooling?
Yeah, or no,
the farm.
Yeah.
Sorry. Anderson was 2 and Ellie was 4.
Okay, so those would have been hard ages to even get the farm started, because you're trying to learn as a mom, and you know what I mean? Like, they're young and still into stuff, and then you're taking on the responsibility of a property and other living things that you need to care for too.
Yeah, and we started really small, so we really didn't have large stock on the farm. I think Anderson was he might have been 5 when we finally had like cows on the farm. So it worked out well to start with chickens, and then we had the sheep, and like it was kind of like a slower progression as far as like.
So you didn't feel too overwhelmed. It was kind of like a learning process as you went, learning in so many ways.
Yeah, and like for a lot of that, when we were getting the infrastructure up, because when we bought the back acres to the farm, it was just forest. So there was, we had to basically build everything from scratch. Mm-hmm. And we did it all pretty much ourselves. And so most evenings and weekends in the summer was, Daniel would come home from work, we would all leave, and we would go, and we would go back on the farm, and that's where we'd be. And the kids would just have to kind of find things to play with and ways to entertain themselves while we would do that. And we didn't take a lot of family vacations. Everything kind of just got poured back into that. So they've really kind of been immersed in all of it since before they could remember.
And my son's only a year and a half old, but there is no place that he's happier than being outside. So as a kid, I can remember going to many of my friends' farms where they had horses and tons of other animals, and just loved running through the woods, being outside. So I feel like they probably were able to entertain themselves and enjoy themselves at a young age.
Yeah, and more so I think when they're young than now. Like now they're getting, Ellie's almost 12, and so she's getting to that. It takes a lot more to entertain her than just here's a stick and a tree.
They have a mind of your own, or a mind of their own in a different way, I think, at that age, where they probably want to explore and experiment.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. I don't know if there's been challenges for you, but how has it been not having a background or kind of growing up in that community or in the farming community per se, to the extent that you guys are involved now? Like, how have they perceived you guys? And especially because you have such a big online presence, and I'm thinking small town in the valley. They must think you guys are like crazy local celebrities. Oh no,
no, I think they think we're crazy.
Really?
No, I think, we were really lucky in that people were pretty receptive around us as far as helping as we got started, because
like for advice or just lending a hand?
Yeah, both.
Yeah.
Just, hey, we have no idea what we're doing for this. Like, what would you do? Fencing, especially, like just, infrastructure, and, as you get going with larger stock, like pigs and cows, like they just require so many different things that we didn't know. And so we were really lucky in that there were people locally that were receptive in helping us do that. Mm-hmm. And I don't think, I think I'm always really careful of like, we're not like a beef farm that knows all the things, and that's why we have a following on Instagram. I think it's really important that we shed light on the fact that there were so many other really seasoned farmers around us that know so much more than we do, that were able to kind of get us off the ground. And I think that our following kind of came more on the sourdough front, and the farm was sort of like a secondary. So it's, that's been such a blessing. But as far as us not knowing anything, there were a lot of losses and a lot of mistakes that we made. And, there was definitely times where we were just not going to continue.
Right.
And so it's been quite a journey, whereas people, I think, that coming from a background of farming, whether they grew up on a farm, especially for our kids, for example, well, they're going to, if they decide to farm when they're older, they just really have a leg up. We just really had
the transfer knowledge is just
there.
Yeah.
You're immersed in it for so long. It's like riding a bike. You just understand it so much better. And we just really didn't when we started. And animal behaviors, that's such a thing that I think is overlooked when people talk about farming, because they all have, depending on what species you decide to farm, they all have just different behaviors, and understanding how to work within that is really important, and obviously something that we had to learn as we went.
Yeah, really test your patience, I'm sure.
Yeah, especially the pigs. That was hard. We don't miss the pigs.
No? Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
At least you know your focus and what's good for you guys. So you mentioned the sourdough, and that's kind of, I want you to take us back, because I'm a little curious to kind of learn how you decided that was kind of going to be your livelihood, and how that started, and what sparked you to start getting involved in baking and teaching online.
Yeah. So the teaching was sort of a fluke, not a mistake, I guess, but like a fluke, because I was just kind of making sourdough at home and sharing it on social media just because I loved it. And I had been making sourdough for quite a while before we moved to where we were. So I just kind of kept doing it. I started the Instagram when we moved to our current house. And, I just shared everything I did. And that was part of what I did. And people started getting really interested in how I was making it. And so I started offering online classes. I started offering classes in my kitchen. So I was offering classes, I think I could fit 12 to 15 people
just with people in the community or people you knew? Okay.
Yeah. So I did that. Yeah. So they would come, we would have tea, I would have treats, and we would learn how to make bread. And there'd be, I think the very most I ever put was 15. But
and
usually
you just charge them to come.
Yeah.
Okay.
Charge them. And then they got a starter. They got to take home a starter. They got to take home some bread. It was just a kind of a quaint little thing. And I really liked it, because at the time I was a stay-at-home mom, and I didn't really obviously get out a lot because my kids were really young. And so it was just a way for me to kind of have a minute on the weekend of to talk to adults,
socialize,
and share something that I really loved. And then COVID happened, and obviously nobody could come to my house anymore. So I started baking bread and just giving it to people during COVID. And then I thought, well, if people came to my house, maybe people would want to join me online, and I could just do a live Zoom class and see who tuned in. I think the first one, there was 15 people or something. And I did it as just a way of making a little bit of extra income, where everybody was working a little less, and Daniel was working a little less. He was a mortgage broker, so obviously people weren't buying homes at the time, so he was home a little bit more. And it was just a way for me to kind of make a little bit of extra income. And I remember started growing a little bit, and people started getting really interested. And I remember somebody saying to me, that's just, people offer that for free. That'll never, ever fly as a business. So
never give anything away for free.
Yeah. Yeah.
in business.
So, and I think people were like, well, I don't think that will ever work, and blah, blah, blah. And kind of went on like that. And so I was like, well, we'll see. By that fall, so I started in the spring, by that fall, I had 350 people.
Oh my gosh.
In my classes. In a Zoom.
And I have to say, I'm some of this is coming back to me following along with your guys' journey. 2020 was the best time to start any type of baking, cooking. I feel like everyone, there was a point when they were making sourdough.
Well, I guess.
Because or learning a new skill like that.
Well, remember there was no yeast.
Oh, I don't remember.
You couldn't get yeast in the grocery stores.
You couldn't get a lot of things.
You couldn't get toilet paper.
Yeah, that's right.
You couldn't get yeast in the grocery store. So people were like, well, I guess I'm going to have to figure out another way. And so everyone started making sourdough. And so by the fall, I was offering these classes every month. And every month they were putting like 200 to 300 people in these sourdough classes. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And so at that point, Daniel had gone back to work, and I was still just offering them on like a random Saturday. I would just offer a class, and I just kept thinking, eventually this will dwindle off.
Right.
There's only so many people that I can keep putting in these classes, but then it didn't, and it just kept going. And so I ended up meeting my business partner, Lizzie, who's in Utah. Mm-hmm. I met her through social media.
She looks fabulous, just through social media.
She is, yes, and everything she is on social media, like when you see people online, you're like, I wonder what they're actually like in real life. Like she is everything she portrays online. She is in real life. She's wild. She's super fun.
Love that. So
I had reached out to her about sourdough because she had a sourdough recipe in her first cookbook, and she was so receptive. And that's just like, now knowing her, that's just the type of person she is. Like she's just so receptive of new things, and she wanted to learn all the things. And so I helped her with her sourdough recipe, and she was like, you know what? I think we should write a whole sourdough cookbook. That was in October.
So are there so many different versions of sourdough? I'm not a baker. Or like I don't cook a lot.
It's not so much that there's so many. Well, there's lots of different ways to make sourdough bread. Like there's lots of different versions of sourdough bread, but there's so many other things you can make with sourdough.
Okay.
So anything that has yeast. Mm-hmm. And then even things that don't have yeast, like we put it in muffins and cakes and cookies and all of the things. So anything that has yeast though, like pizza, cinnamon rolls, like anything you can make instead of using yeast, you can make with like wild yeast, which is sourdough. So we wrote a cookbook. This was in October. She was at my house in December.
Oh my God.
That's just a testament to who she is. And we wrote this cookbook together. And then what happened was, because of all the things with COVID, there was a shortage in paper, of all things. So we couldn't actually physically print the book.
Oh my gosh.
So we were sitting on this amazing thing that we had just busted to get out in 4 months and edited and all the things. And it was ready to go, and everyone was waiting for it, and we couldn't print it. So on a whim, like just a complete afterthought, I said, why don't we start a monthly subscription for sourdough online, and we will offer weekly recipes and tips and tutorials and one-on-one help, and a huge community that people can be a part of that is aside from Instagram. And so we started a Facebook group, and everybody could kind of like correspond in there, and that we promise that these people will be successful with their sourdough bread, and we'll give away all of the recipes in the book as a start, because we wouldn't be able to have the book out till like probably almost Christmas that year.
Okay.
At that point, we didn't know it was going to be that long, but it was almost Christmas. And so we started just as an afterthought, and she really didn't want to do it. She had hated the idea, and she really didn't want to do it. And I pushed it, and I said, you know what, I'm going to do it anyway. And I really want you to do it with me, but you don't have to, because I really believe that this is something that could be super great. And I think we have a lot to offer. And so we launched that in March together. And Daniel left his job in June.
Oh, wow.
And came home full
fast.
time.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So is that kind of where your focus is still? Is that like subscription-based community? And is that just still
growing?
In the book, yeah. In the book. So now there's a physical book.
There's a physical book, yes. So we launched the book. I went to Utah for the first time that November.
I think I remember this. And you guys did a little cookie or like in-person
Yeah, so we
thing.
do one every time I go to Utah. We do an in-person. Okay. And it's streamed online too. So same with like when I used to do the Zoom classes, people can tune in. But I went in November, and that was the first time. I think that was the first time I'd like actually got on a plane, and I don't know, probably 10 years almost.
Really?
Like it was a huge thing. And Daniel came with me, and we went and we did the big book launch in Utah, and and we had the physical book at that point.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, so I want to talk about, that's incredible. And the success you guys have built and just keeps building is just, I love to watch. I love to see stuff like this in stories and taking those risks, especially as a stay-at-home mom with 2 kids. You're doing the farm, which is new. Now you're launching an online business plus a book. Like how do you do it? Because do you have advice? I feel like there's so many women, especially, or moms who maybe had kids at a young age or had to leave their jobs to be with their family and their children. And if they're still wanting to do something else or have passion to follow a dream, do you have any advice for them to kind of like take a step slowly, not dive right in and get overwhelmed, but take a step to try and fulfill that dream or desire?
Yeah. I left my business to raise our kids. So that was me. And I was home.
And what was that?
I had a yoga studio.
I know that, but I just want people to know that. Yeah.
So I had the yoga studio, and then I tried to go back after I had Ellie, and it just didn't feel quite right. So shortly before we got pregnant with Anderson, I closed it.
Okay.
So Ellie would have been probably a year. I closed it and decided to stay home with them, and that was something that was just really important to me. I wanted to be home with them, and so, but it was all obviously really hard because you come from an entrepreneur background, and then all of a sudden your creativity for that is on hold for a little bit, and so I think for me, if I can offer advice to somebody in that situation, is to just observe. So when I was in our other house, I opened up an Instagram account as a marketing research.
Okay.
It was a printed shirt business.
Oh.
We did like printed shirts. I printed and very few. Like I didn't do it to make a bunch of money off printed shirts. I did it as how do people grow a following on Instagram? What is the science and the math behind it?
Interesting.
And so I would sit and study all the things, like people's Instagram accounts. I would study
like their content that
their
they're posting,
content and then their strategy.
Okay.
I would build relationships with people in the like printed shirt world, I guess, like that were on there as a lifestyle brand, like not just people like selling printed shirts, but just like selling a lifestyle. So these moms that were like doing printed shirts, and they were selling their lifestyle and they were selling their brand within their lifestyle. And I think that that's the trick. So I just observed, and my goal was in a year, I wanted to build an Instagram to 10,000 followers.
Okay. So this was something that was completely on your radar, kind of
Yeah.
growing
Oh,
this.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I love that.
Yeah. So I did that.
Successful.
In 12 months.
I would say.
I did the 10,000 followers in
Mark's like
12
perking
months.
up his ears over there, my producer. Like, how do we do this?
So, and then I closed it.
Really?
Yep.
When there was 10,000 followers?
Yep.
You didn't just change the handle and
Nope.
run with
I
it?
started from zero.
Why? Just to
Because
do it again?
Because that wasn't my demographic.
Right.
Right?
Different
you have to have the
audience.
right. This is the thing with social media is like, it's not about how many followers. It's about who are you reaching? Well, I wasn't printing shirts anymore. I was living on a farm.
Yeah.
And
Very different.
So the lifestyle I was portraying or I was living wasn't that anymore. That was just a marketing research. And I did it, and at 12 months, I closed it, and I was done, and we moved. So and then that's when I started the farm account. So I think it's not immediate. Like it's years and years. And I think that that's something that's really important is like find something. You have to have passion. It can't just be, your motive can't.
You want to be seen or something.
I want to have 10,000 followers on Instagram.
Which everyone thinks now because there's like people that do go viral or TikTok. We were talking about the secret lives of Mormon wives. Is that what it's called? And people just assuming, oh, I can do that. That's easy. Well, it's not that easy.
Yeah.
And it needs to make sense for you as a person.
Yeah. And I think it's a lot easier nowadays to go viral for certain things on TikTok, or I'm not really on TikTok, but for Instagram, it's a little harder to go viral on Instagram, but you can. But then it's like, it's not the best way to do it. It's actually like slow and steady is really better because you're capturing authentic audience of people who actually care about what you're putting out there. And I think that, you know, I observed for that full year, for 12 months, and I watched to see kind of like how these people were doing it. And it wasn't the same demographic that then what I turned and ended up doing. But I think what I realized is like, you have to have passion, you have to share authentically, or nobody cares. And so, yes, it is a business, but everything that I put on there is exactly what we do every day. It's not, and I think that's what people, maybe they say, oh, it's a highlight reel. Well, yes, of course, I'm not going to put an argument that I'm having with my 11-year-old on my Instagram. Of course not. But what we portray in a day is exactly what we do. And I think that is people, you know, they relate to that, and then they want to then learn from you, or, you know,
more. They want more.
Or if you're putting, you know, sourdough tutorials on your Instagram, and then you're like, hey, I'm actually offering a class that teaches all of it. It's like, well, they know that they can trust you as someone who's taught them things on Instagram. They know that they like the way that you teach or whatever you're offering. And so it's easier for them to then be like, okay, well, I'm going to sign up and take a class. And I think that is kind of, you know, it doesn't have to be Instagram or social media, but I think for people who are trying to find something else outside of, you know, whatever they're doing, I think it just takes a lot of time and research and observation for people who are already doing it better than you are.
And you're right about the following that you want, because you want the longevity. You want those people to grow, just like it could be a clothing brand or whatever. You want to keep and retain those customers and those people to follow along and be part of that like special community, I think.
Yeah, because it's more fun that way. It's more fun. I find it's happened a couple of times with viral content on our Instagram. I don't ever find I've gotten really like friendly responses from the people that have come from that. It's the people that are like there for a long time that like they feel you're like your friends, that are like, you know, in your DMs all the time, commenting on your life and asking questions and, you know, genuinely interested in what you have. It's those people that you enjoy having, and you want more of those people. So it's not really about how many followers. I think it's more about like the type of people that you attract to your audience.
What's your next goal for online?
For online?
Like, do you have a number? Do you foresee yourself or have a vision for yourself of hitting that 1 million mark or something like that?
I don't really have.
Or is that kind of not where your head's at now?
Not really. I don't really do the numbers. I think I'm mostly really just grateful for the people that are there, and I hope they stay. So and we started a YouTube channel, so that I've been putting.
I was actually thinking, I was wondering if you did, because that's a really good way to add, I think, just longer versions of the content that you have, or certain specific topics that people want to learn about. It's like have your own little show that people can learn from and kind of watch that content as they want. Like Instagram's just a little peak, I think.
It's short.
Like. Yeah.
Short content. And it's fun. But I do really like the long content. I like to be able to produce it. And that's what our subscription is longer content for tutorials and things like that. So
people, if you're a subscriber, already have access to some of that, but then YouTube's going to be a little more available.
So YouTube, we've just started doing like, I don't know, scratching the surface on different like tips and tricks with things. And then also like we show more of our life on there. We'll do more long content of stuff on the farm or the house or things like that.
Vlogging. You should be vlogging you probably are.
What is vlog? Like the
video, just like a blog, but a vlog of kind of your
And that's
home.
what YouTube would kind of mostly be, I would think.
Okay.
Would be like kind of just like tidbits of our day that are in longer form content. So we started that. So that's where my focus is really online. I'd love to see that grow.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
You're not only, I think there's a lot of farmers or people that live kind of a farming lifestyle, maybe just for pleasure, aren't doing like the back end business stuff and kind of the tech and things that come with what you're doing. It's a lot.
It's I would say that probably takes up even more time than
Oh, absolutely.
than the farm itself.
Editing, just all the things that you have to do to kind of get and put stuff out there. But what are your kids, I want to know, what did they think of kind of your family, the farm, the online presence that you guys have, and kind of the time and commitment? I'm assuming you just treat it like a business when you have to sit down and do your newsletter, create videos, post and edit. Do they just understand that's part of the farm and mom and dad's life?
Yep, basically. So I have usually 2 days a week that I film, and then I will typically edit it when the kids are asleep or something like that. But as far as filming, and I say now that the kids are a little bit older and, you know, their needs are more during the day, I kind of almost wish I had like a test kitchen like off, like outside the house or something.
You could do that. I feel like you could build one.
Like somewhere where I
one
can
that
like
you can keep it like
leave.
clean.
Exactly. So on days where I'm filming and the kids are just used to it now. Like, okay, well I'm filming today, so you know.
Andy Hay does that. You must know Andy Hay from Andy's East Coast Kitchen.
Yeah.
I think it's in his garage or something.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. I knew.
But I'm assuming your new kitchen is going to be stunning, so you'll probably want to spend all your time in there.
And you know what I did in the new kitchen is I made the pantry so that there's like a sink and
right, so all the mess can hide back
there. So if the kids need things while I'm filming, they can go in and like get food and you know what I mean. They can go in another room that's not right in the kitchen. So that's the only thing I think I find hard with juggling the filming content aspect. Specifically for the subscription, because that is an every week thing. So,
right. You need to stay on top of it.
Yeah. That's the only tricky part to juggle with so many bodies in the house is trying to get that coordinated without interruptions.
The amount of time that you spend in your kitchen and baking and cooking, it blows my mind because I don't like messes at all.
Right.
And I'm the type of person when I start cooking or doing anything, I'm already starting to think about like I'm cleaning as I go.
Yeah.
And it's probably because I don't enjoy the process as much. For you, it's probably therapeutic and you enjoy getting the flour, getting the eggs, everything just kind of getting in there. But the relaxation I feel with some of your content with the music and the candlelight and you're like the ASMR that you're cutting and like whisking things is crazy.
Yeah.
And I feel like people just enjoy watching, just like people watch cooking shows. They just love taking that in and it's relaxing.
Yeah.
But is it relaxing to you to do that?
Yeah, it depends on the day. You know, there's some days, so I absolutely love it. And there's actually some days where I purposely will go and bake all the things and turn my phone off and not film any of it. Because
100%. It's work.
I just want to enjoy the process of it. And that's why when people are like, well, do you sell your sourdough? And I just don't think I would ever enjoy it if I had to do it. Like I do it for a job, but it's a different type of job. And I don't think I would love it as much if I had to bake it in bulk and do it like that. But I do. In the winter, I would say every single day I'm in the kitchen making something, whether it's being filmed or whether it's not. In the summer, it's a different story.
Wow. You guys are I just think of your children and Daniel and just getting to enjoy
eating all
yourself,
the things.
getting to enjoy these treats. I've never made bread or sourdough.
Really?
No, I need to. I guess I need to sign up and learn because
you should.
I think I need to learn how to enjoy it or just do the process and enjoy it a few times and say, okay, this is for me or isn't for me. But
yeah. And sometimes it's just not. Like some people don't love it's
I like to watch people and do it. I find it very intriguing. But we all love different things. So can you tell me what a typical Friday night looks like at the Turner Farm for you and your family?
Friday night.
Or a weekend. Yeah. What are you guys doing? Like there's still chores to be done, I'm assuming, on the farm.
Yeah. And I would say, especially in the summer, the kids are outside till dark. Like we have kids nearby and Ellie rides horses. So she's usually out with a friend on her horse or doing something like that. And I would say we typically do chores slowly.
Okay.
So
you still kind of feel that weekend vibe, just in a different way.
Yeah, and I think now since we've built the house, we've been kind of like the cows are up by the new house, so we'll all go up and we'll just kind of hang out at the new house and spend some time there, watch the sunset, you know what I mean? Take it slower. The kids usually stay up a little bit later and that sort of thing, or we have a bonfire. And then in the winter, obviously that looks different because it's dark so early. But yeah, in the summer.
I'm already feeling that.
I am too.
You know?
I know.
Especially with my little guy, gets up earlier, and he has obviously since he was born. But yeah, the dark mornings, I love fall, but not
the dark
not ready
mornings.
for it.
No.
Yeah.
I know. Summer really went fast this year.
It really did.
Yeah. So I find I love our evenings in the summer. I find they're so much less rushed. In the winter, you're kind of like, we are running to get chores done by like 4 p.m.
Right.
Whereas in the
Preserving
summer,
daylight.
yeah, and in the summer, it's, we got till like 9, which is really nice. So I find, weekends, but really our nights always look pretty well the same because our days are pretty well the same. Like there really aren't weekends. It's all kind of the same.
Blends it together.
Yeah.
That's fun though. That's kind of a nice way. I feel like that I'm just getting back into work and doing things more after having cash. And I feel, the whole time I was kind of more off on maternity leave that I don't know what day of the week it is. Sometimes I still don't know what day of the week it is.
Yeah, when Daniel left his job, that was one of the things he said. It took him about 6 months to like kind of come down off the Monday to Friday feel of like on Sunday night, the anxiety of Monday morning.
Right. And
like
then the whole week ahead
what needs to be done and what emails. And, when he decided to leave that business, he had to get rid of that email. So like he started like a personal email or whatever. And it was just like, it took him 6 months to not feel like he had to be checking calendars and stuff. And it's like, it's really cool to be able to just,
live.
There is no like, we're not waiting for the weekend. We're not waiting for Friday because every day's a lot of work for one.
Absolutely.
But it's all the same. So it just kind of flows all together.
Yeah. That's nice. That is one of the best things about kind of working with your family or for yourself, just kind of like enjoying, that process and that lifestyle in a different way, because I'm not a 9-to-5 type person. I'll never be. And it's definitely not for everyone.
Yeah.
It sounds like you guys are doing what you're meant to do and kind of living out your dream and pursuing it and turned it into a successful business, which is crazy. Yeah. So what's next for Turner Farm? Anything you can share? Anything exciting?
I'm writing a second book.
Amazing.
So that is a slower process than the first one just because of all the things we have going on. But we've started photographing for that, and that should hopefully come out, I would say maybe sometime mid next year. Yeah. So that's kind of like the biggest thing we have on the go. And then obviously the house, hopefully praying we move into that house before Christmas.
Oh, really? That soon?
Well, it's almost done. Like we're starting flooring and we're like doing the finishings in the inside. I don't know. Everyone thinks we're crazy to think we're going to be in by Christmas, but I'm trying to hold the hope that we'll be in before the winter because I don't really want to move in the depths of winter. But it's coming along. It took
a process.
Yeah. We broke ground 13 months ago. So
okay.
Yeah. So it's been.
You're ready.
I'm ready.
It's like your third child.
Yeah.
Absolutely. If people want to learn more about Turner Farm or sign up for one of your online subscriptions or classes, how do they do that? Where is the best place for them to find you?
So Instagram's turner.farm, and then YouTube is just search Turner Farm, and our website is turnerfarm.ca.
Okay, pretty straightforward.
Just Turner Farm.
Yeah, you'll find. I actually looked for you on TikTok because I was doing a few things to prepare, and I don't even think I found you on there.
No, I'm not really on there. You know what it
is?
is?
Don't bother.
It's one of those things that you have to kind of pick your platforms.
Totally. You've done it and mastered it. So just keep doing what you're doing.
Canadians are it's harder to be a Canadian on TikTok.
It is, yeah. There's more like rules and regulations.
There are.
Things.
So I kind of went on for a minute and then I was like, there's too many platforms. So.
It's just a lot. Yeah, it's a whole different, we're not aging ourselves, but I feel like
it is.
We kind of like missed that in a sense. I don't know.
Yeah, I do like YouTube though. So
good.
That's a good place to find us.
Well, I'm so grateful that you came in. It's so nice to catch up with you and learn more about it. And I definitely want to come down and see the new spot.
Yeah, come visit.
Yeah, I'll wait and see when it's done. Thanks, Ash.
Thank you.